Hello and welcome to Steve's Vintage Model Builds, where today gonna do something a little different. Yeah. So welcome to everyone, returning viewers and subscribers. Thank you very much, and new viewers. Appreciate everybody's time and spending a bit of it with me. So actually, speaking of me, instead of looking at the thing there, turn this off. There we go. The Martian thing is in my face now. Okay, so anyways, yeah, you like my hair? It's a snow day here. We woke up to a dusting of it, and it's been non-stop since. And we've got a good 12 centimeters on the ground now, about 5 inches, I'd say. And it's still coming down real good. So, great day to snuggle in, do some model kitting. And so, anyways, without further ado then, I'm going to do a couple updates here. Fix this again. Go back the way we were. There we go. So a couple of little updates I've been working on. Nothing new on the on the Mac AC. And I'm making progress on the Yorktown, and in addition to other things, I got the aircraft all painted up. I still have to do a bit of detailing on the underside, but yeah, they're 1/700, so a bit of a challenge, but pretty good if you have the right brush. So and that's part of what we're going to talk about today in today's show. So yeah, and we're still working on the 57 Ford Del Rio, and got the engine pretty much done. There's one or two pieces that need to go on and a little bit of paint detailing, but I'm pretty happy with it overall. And yeah, I mean that's a big part of this build is just the motor. There's a lot of pieces to it, but anyways, everything went together fine, and yeah, so that's where we're at with that. Okay, and so today I'm going to talk about figures. A lot of people, including myself, when I got back into the hobby, are really intimidated by figures. And, oh, here, yeah, they're really intimidated by figures. And they can be a challenge, but they can also be a lot of fun if you do it right. And so when I got back into the hobby, one of the first little kits I did was let me see, get it here. Where is it? Sorry about that. The cat was at the door. My apologies. Okay, so where was I? Oh yeah, figures. Yeah, and so when I was a young modeler, I did some, but not really that many. But anyways, now I'm revisiting a lot of those old kits that I had when I was younger, and so anyways, I had picked up the Airfix Vintage Classic 176 World War I Mark I tank, and I thought I might like to do a little diorama for it. I can't find the model now. I don't know where it's hiding. I thought it was on the shelf. Anyways, so and I ended up getting these from MHAR, and after returning to the hobby after 40 years, that's how they turned out. And get a little closer there. I mean, they're not perfect, and of course, like always, the faces are a challenge. but there's a few different poses here, and yeah, jumped right in at the deep end there regarding figures, but I was surprised and pleased at how well they turned out, and how you know, they weren't as hard as I thought they might be. So anyways, and I'm a big Tamiya kit guy, and a lot of their kits, especially the older ones, they come with figures. And so anyways, yeah, I've been you know, not all the time, but you know, doing figures up. Here's just a couple of examples. There's the Tamiya Willis Jeep with the figure, and I find, you know, if you take your time and you're patient, that you know, your figures will usually turn out pretty good. And I'm pretty happy with his face too. At this point I hadn't been able to put in eyeballs, but I'll show something about that. Excuse me. Later in the video. And then I did this one. This is the tank commander for the 135 monogram Patton tank, and he got a hole in his butt, but he's half inside the tank anyway, so that's all you see. That's all you see anyway, so I didn't bother to fill it. I just painted it. But again, I'm pretty pleased with the way it turned out. The only thing I'm having a little bit of trouble with is, even though I use panel liner and stuff, and I try to mix the paint as well as possible, some of them come out kind of shiny. So, but I find that's more with the Tamiya paints than the Vallejo ones. So I'm going to keep this guy here because I want to. So yeah, so talk a little bit about paints. Everybody has, you know, there's lots of great stuff out there, and you know, I'm certainly not going to say something is no good. I don't have a lot of experience with a lot of them, and so I'm just going to tell you what my experience has been with what I've used. So I really like the Vallejo Model Color. These are water-based acrylic paints, and they're also available in metallics, also all sorts of different ones. They also have a Model Air line, which is pre-mixed for the airbrush, and I found those are great too. They go, the paint goes on really well. I use the Tamiya acrylic paints for quite a bit, and a bit of AK, but that's just their streaking stuff. So those are the only ones I know. I know there's others out there. I know there's other great ones out there. But yeah, I'm shifting away from the Tamiya paints to the Vallejo. Being water-based, they're a lot easier to work with as far as cleanup and stuff like that is concerned. So water's a lot cheaper than the Tamiya thinner. Actually, you can't use the Tamiya thinner. With Vallejo, you have to use no alcohol in your cleaner. There's all sorts of different ones out there. There's Angelus. I got this one, and it's alcohol free. I got this one, Media Airbrush Cleaner from Iwata. Again, no alcohol. So you know, yeah. And so, but yeah, the Tamiya paints are great for so many things, and you know, there's no point to just limit yourself to one thing. I also use the Tamiya sprays, and for primer, I usually just use stuff like this, Krylon. I have a Tamiya primer, red Oxide. Excuse me. But Tamiya spray paints and primers are no longer available in Canada. I did a rant on that. I'll put an end screen up. among other things. So anyways, yeah, so here we are. And of course, when you're going to paint stuff, you need brushes. And there's all sorts of stuff out there. I wouldn't recommend the dollar store brushes. They're okay for maybe one use. And then they just absolutely start falling apart. So, but if you go on Amazon or whatever, they have, and look for makeup brushes. And there's all sorts of different ones. I got a set of these makeup brushes. I don't know how many there were, but it was like 20 or 30 or whatever. And we keep them trimmed up. There we go. Yeah, and so you got stiffer ones, and you got ones with finer, stiffer points. You know, those are good for, you know, painting fine lines and stuff like that. And then it's always a good idea just to have like a regular kind of brush. This was another set. I don't know, it was 15 or 20 or whatever, and you know, they're cheaper than chips. So and you get a lot of them. So, and there's like a lot of duplicates, so a lot of them are the same. It's not like, you know, 20 different kinds. It's like, I think it's about five kinds or whatever. So yeah, so there's that. And actually, these were, as you can see, these were two different sets, and they were both makeup brushes, I believe. So and I find them to be very adequate. Now, before I go on, I'm going to say that cat was at the door again. Sorry for that interruption. I'll try and edit these things out. Excuse me. So, yeah, so I'm going to try and, you know, we won't be painting the figure from start to finish today, but I'll get started on it. And hopefully you'll let me pause long enough so that I can, you know, get it assembled and primed. So anyways, we'll take it from there. So, yeah, so I was starting to say, I don't claim to be any kind of expert or have any kind of special skill. I sure don't. But what I'm trying to do here is to show that even if you have fairly basic skills, you can still produce pretty good looking figures. And again, it's the same as anything else. If you're happy with it in the end, then that's all that matters. So there you go. And figures in particular, they're great for your fine motor skills, although they could be a challenge for people who have you know, some sight problems. There are glasses that you can, magnifying glasses that you can wear over top of regular glasses. I use a magnifying light here. I don't know, can you see it? Anyways, you saw it before a little earlier. You know, so if I need to, I can bend this down and look through that. I also have a magnifying glass, but I don't really use that too much. So anyways, today's figure, I've been so bad since we got back from our trip at the end of December, and but yeah, I'm trying to be real busy with kits, and so and the attention deficit disorder has been rather strong. So you know, I've been kind of working on different kits and resurrecting some old set-asides and all sorts of different things. So yeah, if you tune in regularly, you'll know what's going on and all that kind of stuff. So I try not to fight it too much. So anyway, so I got started on this the other day, and I just pulled it out, and because it's such a simple kit. So this tank's a classic example of the good old Tamiya kit. Some call them shake and bake kits. Whatever. I mean, with Tamiya, you can almost always count 100% on excuse me, good instructions good fit, you know, decent detail, and so on and so forth. So, you know, pretty much everything you'd want. A kit like this, you know, you know, and I don't mean this in any kind of insulting way or anything, but a 10-year-old could do this. So, or maybe even an 8-year-old with supervision. Excuse me. It's a fairly simple kit. The steps are simple. It's a one-piece tub, and you just need to assemble the wheels and just take it through step by step by step. And you know, it's got a decent amount of detail, and came with 3 figures. So I think this was from around 1977. They often don't have a copyright. In any case, yeah, it's a very straightforward kit, and it would be a great kit for you know, somebody, an older person who is either returning to the hobby or just picking it up for the first time. So, like I say, a decent amount of detail, fair number of parts, and you know, you're gonna learn and use basic skills that you need for building model kits. So, and this includes 3 figures. We've got the commander figure and 2 infantry, and there's a U.S. version decaling, as well as Japanese Defense Forces. The Walker was a post-World War II tank that saw a bit of service in Korea, but not really very much. And most of them were actually sold off to South Korea and Japan and countries like that who needed a decent mid-sized tank. It was a good tank, but one of the things about it was that it was a fairly small tank. And so you know, don't get me wrong when I say this, okay? You know, it was you know, the South Koreans and the Japanese, they loved it. I mean, their guys were smaller. You know, that's the bottom line for the most part. And so they had no problems with the size of the tank, whereas the larger American guys, you know, they found it to be a bit cramped. So, but it was well armed, and it was a good tank, and it stayed in service with countries like that for quite some time. So anyway, so we got 3 figures here. I'm only going to work on 1 today. We're going to do the commander, and this is, as you can see, it's olive drab colored plastic, and you know, I've always found Tamiya plastic. Oh, this says 1973. So you know, I've always found Tamiya plastic to be good, consistent, and their figures too are excellent, right up there, top notch as far as I'm concerned. You know, some aren't as good as others, but these actually look very good. So we'll show these here. You can see the details of the uniform, the pockets, the sidearm holster, laces on the boots. There's a good, my camera's probably not good enough for you to see it, but there's a good expression on his face that you can see. And so yeah, so we're going to work on this guy today. And I sort of started this, and then I went, oh, I want to make a video on this. So anyways, so this is kind of interesting too, and you know, one of the reasons I love Tamiya. You have 2 arm choices here. You have one holding binoculars and one just freehand. So that's kind of cool too. Okay, so I'm going to snip this off then. That goes there. Okay, and I'm leaving this on so I can clip it. Okay, so the first thing you want to do, I don't know if you can see that. can you see there's a seam there running down? You're always going to get these. I mean, you know, it's really just a case of, you know, how much. So I just take an X-Acto knife. That's what works best for me, and just scrape that right off. Tiny bit of flash there. They've even detailed the little pouch at the back here. So yeah, very pleased with that. And you want to scrape, you don't want to gouge this. You just kind of want to scrape it along the top. Do the inside. Careful with your fingers. Okay, and up top here. And if you're thinking this doesn't matter, it'll sure show up after you prime it. All those little seams, they'll sure show up. So you want to do as good a job as you can here, save you trouble later on. There we go. There goes the fire department. Yeah, here where we are on Vancouver Island, this is the first snow of the year. Well, we sort of had, you know, a little bit tiny, just like didn't even stay half the morning, and you could still see the grass. But yeah, this is the first snow we've had here where we are. So, and it's welcome because we need a good snowpack. We're in a temperate rainforest here, but we don't get as much rain as we used to. Although you never can tell. Okay, so that's pretty satisfactory. And what a lot of people will do, you'll see this, is they'll take a little cotton ball and dip it in just a little bit of alcohol and wipe the whole thing down. I already soaked this sprue briefly in warm soapy water to get off any residue or whatever. But if you want to take that extra step, you can certainly do that. Of course, you know, if you're a younger person, when you're using alcohol, you need supervision. I have to say that. Okay, and the stuff that you use is not the stuff you can drink. So there you go. Or if you do drink it, you'll go blind. You'll be sorry. Yeah. So okay, there we go. Just clean up his crotch here. Okay, so looking good. All right. Da 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 da. Okay. Next step. And I'm going to do them with the binoculars. So. Well, and I use two different ones of these. The spring broke on this one, and it's a bit older, so I just use it for, like, you know, cutting the sprue racks, and I use this one for the models, or for the pieces. Okay, so we've got that, and so this is what is this? This is a right arm, so we need a left arm, and that looks like a left arm. Arm, right arm. There you go. Okay. Okay, and you see here, there's a little nub here that'll need to be removed. Some people might be picky about the binoculars being pre-molded in. Well, I guess, you know, if that's important, then look for a model kit where they aren't. But for our purposes here, you know, like I say, you know, like this is you know, on the level of novice to getting to intermediate, or whatever comes after novice. And, you know, this, our hobby is no different than many other things. You see, can you see that? There, you can see the fingers, and there's no flash. I mean, you know, just because it's what I do, I'm going to trim a little at the edge, but, you know, it's perfect. Tiny bit there, just a bit of a seam. Okay. Oh, that's the other thing I was going to mention. You can see here, this is the Monogram 135 guy from the patent, and this is the guy from the Walker. As you can see, the guy from the Walker is, you know, quite a bit taller. So I don't know if that was just whoever their prototype was, but yeah, you know, not all scales are equal, as you know, as I say sometimes. One kit manufacturer's 135 isn't going to necessarily be the same as another's. So, and usually it's not that much difference, and you can work with it, but it's just something to keep an eye out for. So, and you know, I mean, you know, I've done ICM figures, which are very good. They're as good as Tamiya. In some cases, maybe even a little better, depending on the kit. You know, and of course, you know, ICM is a great manufacturer, Ukrainian manufacturer, and but they're doing a great job putting out new kits, retooling. They launch paints, and yeah. So if you don't know about ICM kits, check them out. And Peter Oxley does a lot of reviews of ICM kits. He has a relationship with them. They send him kits to be reviewed, and he tells it like it is. So you know, he doesn't. You know, if there's, you know, if something's not right, he'll say so. And that's one of the reasons why they chose him. Although, you know, he just hit 10,000 subscribers. Congratulations, Peter. And I've always been amazed at you know, why he doesn't have a lot more. But yeah, ICM reached out to him, and they said they liked his style, and they liked how he was honest about the reviews. And so anyways, yeah, so they send him kits to review, and they're producing amazing kits now. So, and I've done mini art figures. That was for the IDF. I think it was mini art. And I have another set from a different Ukrainian manufacturer as well. So, okay, so here we go. And for this, I'm going to use regular Tamiya cement, not the quick drying stuff. And what we want to do to start with is see, you want to dry fit these. You should always dry fit anyways. And then you want to see what your seam's going to look like. And the reason I like this for this particular cement for this application is that, well, they all do, it's how they work, but this actually will melt the plastic. And so if you clamp it down real good like I'm doing here, then you'll end up with, the seam will practically be invisible. And anything there is can probably be filled in with paint. And you won't, you know, by the time you put the primer on, nobody's going to see it. Okay. Oh yeah, so anyway, so I was starting to say, you know, our hobby's like a lot of other things in that, you know, it's a craft. And for that kind of thing, you learn techniques. And whether it's cooking or you know, something else, woodworking, you learn techniques and you learn how to do things, and the process by which you do things. So, and that's kind of what I'm trying to show here too. Like I say, I'm no expert, and what I'm trying to show is that, you know, you can have you know, fairly limited skills and still produce a nice figure. And they really do add to a model kit. It animates the whole thing rather than just sitting there like a parked car. You know, and this one has, you know, these two guys are running and they have weapons, and so yeah. So unfortunately, this guy is distinctly American, and I haven't reached the point where I could make him look Japanese. So I guess when I come to doing the kit, it's going to have to be the American. The American decaling. Okay. The other thing too is this glue gives you more time to do little resets, like I'm doing here. Or actually, there we go. Take that off. I'm going to take that off because when it's in that position, I won't be able to get at this to paint. See how that goes? So I'm going to take this off. And what are we going to do about that? Here we go. Okay, just snip one of those off. Get that nice and flat. Okay, give that a moment to set up. There. Okay. Okay, so a while back I picked up one of these things. I suppose you could make one if you wanted to, if you were so inclined. But yeah, it's just plastic. It was black originally. Now it's got primer all over it. Likewise with the alligator clips. So we're just going to need two here. I think it was about $20 off Amazon, like that. So, okay, so here, and this is why I left this on. We're going to clip this here. And this is why I glued this on. We're going to clip this here. And because these are only just two little things, I'm going to do something you shouldn't do. Get my little box here. There we go. Bend this back. There we go. There we go, that should be good enough. Okay, so I've got a mask on, and I'm going to do this. Okay. Okay, there you go. Okay, so here we go. Here we are. And it's going to take some time to dry. I suppose you could get away with a couple hours. I like to leave it overnight though. Excuse me. And as far as the color of primer goes, you want to use one that's you know, going to be close to what your end color is going to be. So you could use a black primer, or in this case I've used a gray one. It's going to be olive drab, so yeah. But you know, if it's going to be red, you could use like the red Oxide or another red primer, and so on and so forth. So just a few tips on using the rattle cans in particular is you want them to be above room temperature slightly, a little bit warm. A lot of people I know, here, we're done here, so. A lot of people I know, excuse me, they put them in a little bowl or a container of warm water, not hot water, not too hot. You don't want to explode the can. But you know, if it's a little bit warm to your hand, and you can still put your hand in there without it, you know, yeah. So you know, a little bit above your body temperature, and just put them in there for 10 or 15 minutes. Let the can warm up. Don't put them out in the sun or in the oven for that matter. So yeah, so that's one tip. And again, same with as with regular paints, mix them up real good. You know, if you're fortunate enough to have a mixer, well, that's great. Otherwise, you might have repetitive stress if you do it too much. Sorry about that, guys or girls. Anyways, you know what I'm talking about, okay? Go rattle, rattle, shake it, not something else. Okay, so yeah, so if if you really want this to dry fast, you can do what I've done here and put it under a warm light. You see here. You could put a little fan on it or whatever, but it really is best to let it cure for a good few hours, especially if you're going to use the enamel paints or alcohol-based acrylics, because you want a good solid shell there to take up the paint rather than just dissolving it. So yeah, so this is I don't know if you can see the detail there. But just a very light coat, doesn't take a lot, and as you saw me do it, rather than going shh, you go and go around, make sure you get all the little nooks and crannies and stuff. So okay, so that's it for today, and hope everybody's enjoyed it, and we'll be back. I'm going to do this as a playlist, and each successive video will also be an end screen. So you can either go to the channel and go to the playlists, or you can just follow along by clicking on the end screen. Okay, so that's it for now. I hope everybody's had a good time and maybe learned a little bit. I've enjoyed it, and we'll be seeing you next time. Bye now.